noticed that certain intersections around town always seem to be problematic? Injury attorney Lloyd Baker is here to tell us about the very worst intersections around town and give us some general tips for avoiding accidents. All right, we got to get to these 5 intersections of havoc.
Yes.
Okay, many of them are on Indian School or McDowell. But the number one, 99th Avenue and Lower Buckeye. Apparently, you don't want to be there. 67th Avenue and Indian School Road. 75th Avenue and Indian School Road. 67th Avenue and McDowell Road. 75th Avenue and McDowell Road.
Yeah. And isn't that amazing? Obviously, intersection accidents are bad, and usually, what it is usually is somebody running the light. And you know, every time you stop, and you'll probably notice this every day you drive, you're sitting at the light, and the light turns green for you. Always pause, because there's always somebody trying to beat it.
Yes, and just take a beat.
Yeah, it happens all the time.
Because that person who's running that stale light, just give them the space and let them go.
Right. Or if you're making a left turn, or if you're waiting for somebody to make a left turn and you still have the green light, man, just be cautious, because those are the bad accidents that happen. I mean, it's just, and then did you notice the research? Almost 30% of the accidents here, rear end accidents. How does that happen?
Well, I was going to ask you.
Somebody does not paying attention, right?
Right.
It's
or is it we don't keep enough distance, so we're tailgating?
Yeah, that could happen too. I mean, I see it all the time. So I represent a lot of motorcycle riders, and so they're sitting at a light and they get hit, and you're like, how does that happen?
Somebody's too close to you.
Yeah, it's just they're looking down at their phone. They look up, and oh, everybody stopped, you know, and so they get rear-ended. The freeways, the same thing. You know, it's just people aren't paying attention when they change lanes. They're not looking, or they do it quickly and think that they can just weave in and out of traffic. Man, that's so dangerous.
You've been in this game a long time. Do you find that things are much different now with smartphones? There's more distracted driving?
Yeah, and you know, we keep preaching to everybody, hey, don't get off your phone, right? Or they have the little stand with the phone on it, but they're still looking at it. You know?
Yeah, okay, so my aunt gets me the little stand, and I'm thinking, but what's the difference?
Right.
You still shouldn't be looking at that, right?
Yeah.
Or there's a screen and it has your navigation.
Right.
So you're sort of looking like, oh, where's my turn? And then you might not notice, and if you don't have a safe distance, you might collide.
Yeah.
A lot of things are common sense to be safe on the road, but some things maybe are good to remind people, obviously don't be impaired or distracted, but you have some other tips.
Yeah, well, that's a big thing is you know, if you're drinking at all, man, get a ride home. You know, because a lot of people don't think, oh, I can handle this much alcohol or whatever, and then they still try to drive, and then they find out they're just slower, you know, and so the reaction times aren't as there, and so they.
It's amazing though, because if you have one drink, the reason you had that drink was to alter your mood, right? Which also alters your reflexes.
Yeah. And so that's a bad one. And it's just, you know, just be cautious, have somebody else drive you home, have Uber come get you, whatever it is. And just the safety part of driving, and just be cautious. Be cautious of everybody else. And I mean, I ride a lot of motorcycles, and man, I always give myself distance. I act like a big truck. Right?
Yes.
Don't weave in and out of traffic. You know, you realize you're in the blind spot. Even in your car, how many times have you almost hit somebody just because they're in your blind spot?
And you say to watch out for pedestrians and cyclists, because sometimes they're harder to see in your blind spot.
Right. Yeah, and especially I mean, how many bad bicycle accidents have you seen? I mean, it's terrible, and you know, there's nothing around them to protect them, so when a car clips them, it's bad. You know,
and also, weather conditions are a factor here. We were talking during the break.
Yeah.
I've been driving, and all of a sudden there's a monsoon, and I really cannot see to change lanes.
Right.
So in that situation, do you pull over?
Well, then you're changing lanes.
Then you're changing lanes.
So you just have to be super cautious, right? And especially when the visibility's not there, it's just be super safe. And I mean, in those situations, you got to act like you're driving like a granny, right?
Yes.
You just got to be slow and.
Lloyd Baker, you're talking to somebody who's been pulled over once for speeding, but twice for driving too slowly.
There you go.
Thank you so much for being here. Thanks. And it's just really a great reminder. Be really safe, especially at those dangerous intersections. Take a beat to make sure someone's not trying to blow that light.